Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're going to be tackling a topic that I know is on a lot of people's minds these days, cybersecurity.
Yeah, it's certainly a hot topic, and for good reason.
It really is. So before we really get into it, why don't we take a step back and kind of define what cybersecurity is? Because I think we hear that word thrown around all the time, but maybe don't always know what it really means in practice.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a broad term. But at its core, cybersecurity is really all about protecting our digital lives, our data, our devices, our online activities from a growing list of threats.
So it's kind of like building a digital fortress around all of our sensitive information.
Exactly. And that fortress needs to be pretty strong because the attackers out there are constantly evolving their tactics.
So we're talking about like protecting everything from our social media profiles to our bank accounts to, our entire online identities.
That's right. Everything we do online generates data, and the data needs to be protected.
Okay, so if we're building this digital fortress, what are the blueprints? What are the fundamental principles that guide cybersecurity?
Well, there's a core set of principles that really underpin everything we do with cybersecurity, and they're often referred to as the CIA triad.
CIA, that sounds a little bit maybe more like espionage than cybersecurity.
It does, but in this case, the CIA stands for confidentiality, integrity, and availability.
Okay, so break that down for us. What exactly do those terms mean in the context of cybersecurity?
Sure, so confidentiality is all about keeping sensitive information private.
Mm-hmm.
Only those who are authorized to access it should be able to.
Okay, so it's like putting a lock on a door. Only people with the key can get in.
Exactly. Now, integrity, on the other hand, is about ensuring that the data hasn't been tampered with, that it's accurate and trustworthy.
Okay, so if confidentiality is about keeping data secret, integrity is about making sure it's correct and hasn't been altered in any way.
That's right. And finally, we have availability, which means making sure that systems and data are accessible to authorized users when they need them.
Okay, so if confidentiality is the lock on the door and integrity is making sure the contents are safe, then availability is making sure you can actually open the door and access what's inside when you need to.
Exactly. A great analogy.
So the CIA triad is like the foundation of a strong cybersecurity strategy.
It provides a framework for thinking about how to protect our digital assets.
Okay, so we've got our blueprints for our digital fortress. Now let's talk about the threats lurking out there. What kind of bad guys are we up against in this digital landscape?
Well, unfortunately, there's no shortage of threats out there, and they come in many forms. But I'd say one of the most common and persistent threats is malware.
Malware, what exactly is that?
Malware is short for malicious software. It's any kind of software that's designed to harm or exploit a computer system or network.
So we're talking viruses, worms, Trojans, all that nasty stuff.
Yeah, that's right. Malware can spread in a variety of ways, through email attachments, malicious websites, even seemingly harmless downloads.
So you really have to be careful about what you click on these days.
Absolutely. One wrong click can infect your computer with malware and give attackers access to your data.
So malware is like a digital disease spreading through the internet.
That's a good way to put it. It can be very contagious and very damaging.
Okay, so malware is one big threat. What else is out there?
Another increasingly common threat is phishing attacks.
Phishing.
Yeah, phishing attacks are all about tricking people into giving up sensitive information like their passwords or credit card details.
How do they do that?
Well, attackers often send emails or text messages that look like they're from a legitimate source, like a bank or a social media platform.
So you think you're clicking on a link from your bank, but it actually takes you to a fake website.
Exactly. And that fake website is designed to steal your login credentials.
It's scary how sophisticated these phishing attacks have become.
They really have. Attackers are getting better and better at mimicking legitimate websites and communications.
So it's not just about having good antivirus software. It's also about being aware and skeptical of what we see online.
Yeah, exactly. You can have the best security software in the world.
Yeah.
But if you fall for a phishing scam, it can all be for nothing.
Okay, malware and phishing, those are two big ones. What other threats should we be aware of?
Another one that's been making headlines a lot lately is ransomware.
Ransomware.
Yeah, it's a nasty one. Ransomware basically encrypts your files, making them inaccessible, and then the attackers demand a ransom, usually in cryptocurrency, to unlock them.
So you can't even access your own data unless you pay the criminals.
That's right. And even if you do pay, there's no guarantee that they'll actually decrypt your files.
So it's like digital kidnapping. They're holding your data hostage.
It is, and it can be devastating for individuals and businesses alike.
And it seems like ransomware attacks are on the rise.
They're becoming increasingly common and increasingly sophisticated.
Okay, so we've got malware, phishing, ransomware. Are there any other major threats we should be aware of?
Well, there are many others, but I'd say one more that's worth mentioning is the distributed denial of service attack, or DDoS attack for short.
DDoS attack. I've heard that term before, but I'm not really sure what it means.
So a DDoS attack is essentially a way of overwhelming a website or online service with traffic, making it inaccessible to legitimate users.
So it's like a digital traffic jam clogging up the system and preventing anyone from getting through.
That's a good way to put it. It's like flooding a store with so many people that no one can actually shop.
So DDoS attacks can target businesses, websites, even critical infrastructure.
They can, and it's a serious threat that can cause significant disruption and financial damage.
Okay, so we've got malware, phishing, ransomware, DDoS attacks. It's starting to feel like we're surrounded.
It can definitely feel that way.
Yeah.
But the good news is that there are ways to protect ourselves. And there are a lot of smart people working on solutions to these challenges.
That's reassuring to hear because honestly, it can all feel a little bit overwhelming. But I guess that's why we're having this conversation, right? To learn more about the threats and what we can do to stay safe.
Exactly. Knowledge is power. And the more we understand about these threats, the better equipped we are to defend against them.
Okay, so speaking of defense, what are some of the latest trends in cybersecurity? What are the experts doing to combat these evolving threats?
Well, one of the most exciting developments is the use of artificial intelligence and machine learning in cybersecurity.
AI in cybersecurity.
Yeah, it's a game changer.
Yeah.
AI can analyze massive amounts of data much faster than any human could to detect threats and respond in real time.
So it's like having a digital security guard that never sleeps and can see everything happening at once.
Exactly. AI can spot patterns and anomalies that humans might miss, giving us a real advantage in the fight against cybercrime.
That's incredible.
Huh.
So AI is like a digital detective sniffing out those bad guys before they can even strike.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah.
AI is becoming an indispensable tool in the cybersecurity arsenal.
Okay, so AI is one big trend. What else is happening in the world of cybersecurity?
Another major trend is the increasing focus on cloud security.
Cloud security.
As more and more businesses move their operations to the cloud, securing data and applications in that environment becomes paramount.
It's like we're shifting our digital fortress from a physical building to a network of servers in the cloud.
Exactly. And the cloud presents unique security challenges and opportunities.
So cloud security is all about protecting our data and applications in this new distributed environment.
It is. And it's a rapidly evolving field as cloud computing continues to grow and mature.
Okay, AI and cloud security. What else is hot in cybersecurity right now?
Well, another area that's getting a lot of attention is IoT security.
IoT security.
The Internet of Things refers to all those smart devices we use every day, from refrigerators to fitness trackers to security cameras.
It seems like everything is connected to the internet these days.
It is, and that presents both opportunities and challenges from a security perspective.
So IoT security is about making sure all those connected devices are secure and protected from hackers.
Exactly, because many of these devices lack adequate security features, making them easy targets for cyber criminals.
Okay, so we need to be thinking about cybersecurity and not just for our computers and phones, but for all the other devices in our homes and workplaces.
That's right. The attack surface is expanding as more and more devices become connected.
Yeah. Okay. AI, cloud security, IoT security. Is there anything else on the horizon that's going to shake things up in the world of cybersecurity?
Well, there's one more that I think is worth mentioning, and it's something that sounds straight out of science fiction. Quantum computing.
Quantum computing.
Yeah, it's a mind-blowing technology that has the potential to revolutionize many fields, including cybersecurity.
How so?
Well, quantum computers are incredibly powerful. They can perform calculations. That would take classical computers millions of years to complete.
Okay, that's impressive. But how does that relate to cybersecurity?
Well, one of the potential applications of quantum computing is breaking the encryption methods we use today.
Wait, so quantum computers could potentially crack the codes that protect our online transactions and communications.
That's the concern. It's a long way off,
Ah.
but it's something that cybersecurity experts are taking very seriously.
So it's like a potential threat looming on the horizon that we need to prepare for.
It is. But the good news is that researchers are already working on developing new encryption methods that are resistant to quantum attacks.
So it's like an arms race between the code makers and the code breakers.
That's a good way to put it. It's a constant battle to stay ahead of the curve.
So quantum computing is something to keep an eye on, but thankfully there are people working on solutions.
Exactly. It's a challenge, but it's also an opportunity to innovate and develop new technologies.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground today, from the basics of cybersecurity to the emerging threats and the latest trends. What are some practical things that our listeners can do right now to protect themselves online?
That's a great question, and it's important to remember that even with all these complex threats, there are simple steps we can take to significantly improve our online security.
So you're saying we don't need to be cybersecurity experts to protect ourselves?
Exactly. Everyone can take steps to stay safe online.
Okay, so what are some of those steps?
Well, first and foremost, strong passwords are absolutely essential.
Okay, strong passwords. What makes a password strong?
A strong password should be at least 12 characters long and include a mix of upper and lowercase letters, numbers, and facial characters.
So not just your pet's name and your birthday.
Definitely not. And please don't use the same password for multiple accounts.
Okay, I've definitely been guilty of that in the past.
It's a common mistake, but it's a risky one if one account is compromised. All your accounts using that password are vulnerable.
So unique passwords for every account. That's a good rule of thumb.
It is. And a password manager can be a lifesaver here. It can generate and store strong, unique passwords for all your accounts. So you only need to remember one master password.
Password managers are like having a digital vault for all your login credentials.
Exactly. They're a great way to improve your password security without having to remember dozens of complex passwords.
Okay, strong passwords, password managers. What else can we do to boost our online security?
Another important step is enabling multi-factor authentication, or MFA, whenever possible.
MFA. What's that?
MFA adds an extra layer of security to your accounts in addition to your password. You'll need to provide a second form of verification, like a code sent to your phone or email.
So it's like having a two-factor lock on your digital door.
Exactly. Even if someone gets hold of your password, they won't be able to access your account without that second factor.
Okay, so MFA is like a must-have for any online account that offers it.
It should be. It can significantly reduce the risk of account compromise.
Okay, strong passwords, MFA. What else is on the cybersecurity checklist?
Keeping your software up to date is crucial.
Oh yeah, those pesky software updates.
I know they can be annoying, but they're important. Those updates often include security patches that fix known vulnerabilities. So ignoring them is like leaving your front door unlocked.
So setting those updates to install automatically is a good idea.
It is. It takes the hassle out of it and ensures that your systems are always protected with the latest security updates.
Okay, so strong passwords, MFA, keep your software updated. Anything else?
Absolutely be vigilant about suspicious emails. And links, don't click on anything that you're not expecting or that looks suspicious.
So it's like the digital equivalent of don't talk to strangers.
Exactly. If you're not sure about a link or an email, don't click on it. It's better to be safe than sorry.
Okay, so be cautious about emails and links.
Right. And finally, consider using a VPN or a virtual private network, especially when you're using public Wi-Fi.
A VPN? What's that?
A VPN encrypts your internet connection, making it much harder for anyone to snoop on your online activity.
So it's like putting your internet traffic in a secret tunnel.
That's a good analogy. It's a great way to enhance your privacy and security, especially on public Wi-Fi networks.
Okay, so strong passwords, MFA, keep software updated. Be cautious about emails and links. Use a VPN. Those are some great practical tips that anyone can implement.
They are, and they can go a long way in protecting you from many common cyber threats.
Well, that's great advice. Thank you for sharing those tips with us.
You're welcome.
Now I want to shift gears a bit and talk about the people who are on the front lines of this digital battle, who are the cybersecurity superheroes, the people who are working to keep us safe online.
That's a great question, and the answer is that there are many different types of cybersecurity professionals.
So it's not just one type of person, it's a whole team effort.
Exactly. It's a diverse field with a wide range of roles.
Like what?
Well, you've got your security analysts who monitor networks for suspicious activity, ethical hackers who try to find vulnerabilities. Before the bad guys do security engineers who design and build secure systems and many others.
So it takes a village to keep our digital world safe.
It does, and it's a growing village. The
Mhm.
demand for skilled cybersecurity professionals is skyrocketing.
That makes sense given the increasing threats we're facing.
It does, and it's a great career path for anyone who's interested in technology and problem solving.
So not only is it important work, it's also a field with a lot of job opportunities.
That's right. It's a win-win.
Okay, so we've talked about the threats, the trends, the people, but let's talk about the bigger picture. What's the overall impact of cybersecurity on the global economy?
Well, on the one hand, cybercrime is a huge drain on the economy. It costs businesses and governments trillions of dollars each year.
Trillions. Wow, that's a staggering amount.
It is. When a company suffers a data breach, for example, it can cost them millions in fines, legal fees, and lost business, not to mention the damage to their reputation.
So it's not just about stolen data, it's about real-world consequences.
Exactly. And it's not just large corporations that are at risk. Small businesses are increasingly becoming targets of cybercrime, and many of them don't have the resources to recover from an attack.
So cybersecurity is something that affects everyone.
It does. Individuals, businesses, governments, we're all potential targets.
And as our lives become more and more reliant on technology, the stakes only get higher.
That's right. Cybersecurity is no longer just a technical issue. It's a national security issue. It's a societal issue.
It sounds like we're at a critical juncture where cybersecurity is becoming increasingly important for our collective well-being.
We are, and the choices we make today will have a profound impact on the future.
So it's not just about protecting our data, it's about protecting our way of life.
Exactly. Cybersecurity is about ensuring that technology is used for good and that our digital world is safe, secure, and trustworthy.
Well, that's a powerful message and a great place to leave off for today.
It is.
So we've covered a lot of ground today, but this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more to explore in the world of cybersecurity.
There is, and it's a constantly evolving field, so staying informed and vigilant is key.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us today for this deep dive into cybersecurity.
It was my pleasure.
We'll be back soon with more insights and analysis on this critical topic. Until then, stay safe online.
Stay safe. Yeah, so as AI and machine learning get even more sophisticated, I think we can expect to see some really interesting developments in cybersecurity.
Like what kind of things are we talking about here?
Well, imagine systems that can not only detect threats, but also predict and prevent them before they even happen. Like a digital immune system for your computer.
So it's not just about reacting to attacks, it's about anticipating them and stopping them before they even have a chance to cause any damage.
Exactly. It's about being proactive rather than reactive.
That sounds pretty amazing, but is that even possible?
Well, it's definitely still early days, but the potential is there, and researchers are making significant progress.
Okay, so AI is like the future of cybersecurity.
It's definitely a big part of the future, and I think it's going to play an increasingly important role in the years to come.
Okay, so AI and machine learning. What else is on the horizon for cybersecurity?
Well, as we talked about earlier, quantum computing is another technology that has the potential to revolutionize cybersecurity.
Right, we touched on that briefly, but can you elaborate a bit more on how quantum computing could impact cybersecurity?
Sure, so quantum computers are incredibly powerful. They can perform calculations that would take classical computers millions of years to complete.
Yeah, that's mind-blowing, but how does that translate to cybersecurity?
Well, one of the potential applications of quantum computing is breaking the encryption methods we use today.
So all of our online transactions, our communications, everything that's protected by encryption could be vulnerable to quantum attacks.
It's a possibility. It's not an immediate threat, but it's something that cybersecurity experts are taking very seriously.
Okay, so it sounds like we need to start preparing for a post-quantum world.
We do. The good news is that researchers are already working on developing new encryption methods that are resistant to quantum attacks.
So it's like an arms race between the code makers and the code breakers.
Exactly. It's a constant battle to stay one step ahead, but it's a challenge that we're up for.
Well, that's good to hear. So AI, machine learning, quantum computing, those are some pretty big technological advancements that are going to shape the future of cybersecurity.
They are. And they're just a few examples of the exciting innovations that are happening in this field.
So it sounds like there's a lot to be optimistic about.
Cybersecurity is a challenging field, but it's also a very rewarding one, and there's a lot of opportunity for innovation and growth.
Well, that's great to hear. I think we've covered a lot of ground today, from the basics of cybersecurity to the latest trends and the future outlook.
We have.
So let's wrap things up here. But before we do, I just want to say thank you for sharing your expertise with us today.
It was my pleasure.
And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in to The Deep Dive.
We hope you found this episode informative and engaging. Be sure to check back soon for more deep dives into the world of technology and innovation.
And in the meantime, stay safe online. And blockchain, with its inherent security and transparency, could also really transform how we store and manage sensitive information.
Yeah, blockchain, it seems like that's a technology with a lot of potential applications.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's essentially a digital ledger that's tamper-proof and distributed across multiple computers, so it's incredibly difficult to hack.
So it's like a digital vault for data.
That's a good analogy. Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, so we've got all this incredible technology coming down the pipeline: AI, machine learning, quantum computing, blockchain. It sounds like the future of cybersecurity is going to be pretty wild.
It's an exciting time to be in this field. There's so much innovation happening.
But with all this talk about technology, I'm curious, do we still need humans in the loop? I mean, will AI eventually take over all aspects of cybersecurity?
Well, that's a question that comes up a lot, and it's easy to get caught up in the hype of all these new technologies.
Right. It seems like every day there's a new article about how AI is going to replace human jobs.
Exactly. But I think it's important to remember that cybersecurity is not just about technology. It's about people.
Okay, so you're saying that human expertise is still essential even in this age of AI and automation.
Absolutely. We need people who can understand the nuances of threats, analyze complex data, and make critical decisions. Technology can help us automate tasks and improve our efficiency, but it can't replace human judgment and intuition.
So it's a partnership between humans and technology, each playing to their strengths.
Exactly. And as technology continues to evolve, I think the role of humans in cybersecurity will evolve as well.
So maybe instead of replacing humans, AI will augment human capabilities, allowing us to do our jobs even better.
I think that's a more likely scenario. We'll need people who can adapt to new challenges, think creatively, and collaborate effectively to stay ahead of the curve.
So the future of cybersecurity is not just about technology, it's about people and technology working together.
Exactly. It's about finding the right balance between human expertise and technological innovation.
Well, that's a great perspective, and it's exciting to think about the possibilities for the future of cybersecurity.
It's a challenging field, but it's also a very rewarding one. And I think it's only going to get more important in the years to come.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground today. We've talked
Yeah.
about the basics of cybersecurity, the emerging threats, the latest trends, and the future outlook. Any final thoughts for our listeners before we wrap things up?
Cybersecurity is not just a technical issue. It's a human issue. It's about protecting our data,
Mm.
our privacy, and our way of life, and the choices we make today will shape the digital world of tomorrow.
So we all have a responsibility to be aware of the risks and to take steps to protect ourselves.
Exactly. And it's not just about individual responsibility. It's about collective action. We need to work together
Hmm.
to create a safer and more secure digital world.
Well, that's a powerful message and a great note to end on. So thank you again for joining us today for this deep dive into cybersecurity.
It was my pleasure.
And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in to The Deep Dive. We hope you found this conversation informative and engaging. We'll be back soon with more deep dives into the world of technology and innovation. Until then, stay curious, stay informed, and stay safe online.